right, welcome to the Stampscapes lab. We have a piece of the Deanna Tubb-Sedillo background papers, which is a pre-printed background on matte cardstock with, in this case, a warm and cool toned, very cool looking sky texture here. And you can use it in whatever configuration you want here. I tend to see this as top and bottom for the most part, but you can really come up with some really dramatic, just different types of settings sometimes when you configure something like this in a, format that might not look like it's a traditional top and bottom type of thing, and you spin it around and you kind of change the format. Like this would be pretty cool right here with these clouds kind of going off in the that type of direction right here. But even something like this, where you have kind of more of a top lit type of scenario and underlit, bottom lit clouds like that. But for this situation, I'm going to be using one of my pre-stamped glow-in-the-dark printable vinyl sticker papers for one of my large moons. I'm going to add it right up into the sky like that. And then I'm going to add one of my reclining figures down below like this with this church right up in this area right in here. So I see this really lit, illuminated area like that for that chapel. But right down here, this figure is largely in darkness, right? Okay, so I need to illuminate the areas really around her face, okay? And I don't have enough of that right in this section right here. So you can kind of create, kind of a pseudo matte. It's almost like a cardstock. It's more like a copy paper, type of coating of white in a given area, okay? And this works especially on your textured type of papers, so textured papers, or you can use, what I like using is our printable holographic cardstocks or something like that, something that's going to grab your Brilliance ink, okay? So the Brilliance ink is a fast-drying, water-based pigment ink, okay? It's a little bit different than other pigment inks in that other pigment inks are oil-based, okay? You might be able to do it like this, but sometimes it's harder to apply certain types of media on oil-based base coats, okay? You might be able to go into this with an oil-based white pigment ink and use something like a VersaFine Clair, oil over oil, and that might work too. This right here dries a little bit faster though, because it's a fast drying water-based. Okay, so anyways, you can see where I've illuminated all of this area right in here for my darker figure that's going to go right on top of here, okay? This is going to be something like where it's like a cemetery ornament in the foreground here. I'm seeing if I might need a little bit more. Let's just be safe here and let's go a little bit higher with this white here. Just because, typically on a face of a, kind of a subject matter, unless you're doing something to obscure the face just for, some sort of dramatic effect, you normally want the features to be showing because it's going to be somewhat of a strong focal point anytime you have living figures, people, or animals in a scene. The viewer's eye is going to go right to it. Now you can have 100 different figures in there, where it's more like a Find Waldo type of thing, but, the eye usually will go to, some living type of entity in a given composition. All right, now this one's supposed to be a statue, but it's still a figure. Okay, I'm gonna stamp her. I'm stamping her a little bit off. She has this kind of platform that she's on. I might have got a little bit of it, but This is a 4¼ by 5½ standard quarter page card here. So I don't have a lot of room in here. And I do want to use an image that's fairly tall in here. And then plus we have that really large full moon. So we'll give it a little bit of space by stamping it a little bit lower down, considering what we'll be stamping into the rest of the open space. Holding this down a little bit because, you know, this white pigment ink wasn't probably not dry. And I just want to give this plenty of time to transfer. Okay, now see all this area right in here. That would have all been dark had I not added that white in there, but we've added that white in here, so we have all this kind of illumination right in here. I didn't go right here, so you get a little of that orange showing right through her shoulder, but that's okay, like that. This area right in here was kind of the important area. And I'm glad I went a little bit higher up with that white pigment ink application in there. Okay, so let's see. Maybe I'll add this moon in here right now. Okay, I was going to add it in right now, but I have some other things I want to stamp in here first, maybe. Or I don't know. I guess I could add it in there. Yeah, why don't we add it in here? So this is a vinyl printable glow-in-the-dark sticker paper here, so it's pretty cool that when you want it to adhere it, you don't have to use like a tape runner or something like that, or some glue to tape this down, because this is inherently a sticker. Okay. All right, let's see. How do I want to go with my moon? You can go rotate it whatever way you want. I'll go right there, I think. And I'll give myself some space. It doesn't have to be glow in the dark. You can do it on like white or something like that, but it's kind of fun having that little bit of a extra feature of your card, and that it's light reactive, and can kind of add a little bit of a, kind of an extra twist or functionality into a card. Someone can enjoy it, if they have it on display, for, the season, or, for however long they have it. And it's something that when they flip off the lights in a given room where it's on display, it'll glow in the dark. All right. Yeah, checking for if I have this straight. Okay. This is a printed paper, so it does have those printer inks on there. Even though it's matte, remember it's already printed with some ink, so it's not going to be quite as absorbent as just a blank piece of cardstock. So, like I said, this is matte, but it's coated. Okay, it's not coated with a glossy coat or something like that. But printer inks are going to seal off something, because it's going into the pores of the paper somewhat. But that being said, this is a fairly porous surface, which allows us to utilize, just various inks on it. Just about any ink will work on this type of paper. I tend to go with the pigment inks, though, because they're just more surface-oriented and thicker. But a nice, really dark dye-based ink should work on here pretty well. It probably won't stamp, dye-based inks probably won't stamp out quite as dark. Okay, I'm building up a little bit of slope with the sedge filler here. Okay. Sometimes I'm using this kind of just on the edge like that as opposed to its entirety like that. Okay. Let's go like that. It's just kind of just a little bit of a, oh, kind of a outline, foundational outline for my imagery to come here. Let's see, I have different sizes of tombstones here. I think I'll go for, let's see. It's like a walkway lead-in flanked with tombstones or something. Maybe the cemetery just, they just had it in a given area, but they just kept running out of space, which is the situations with a lot of cemeteries, right? A lot of customers. Masking off a little bit here to make it look like kind of it's in the, in the grass there a little bit. Let's see, let's switch up a little bit here. It's kind of a fun season to create some, I don't know, just some kind of funky Halloween scenes. It's like I'm usually adding in, just, I don't know, plants and things like that into the scenario. So it's just kind of interesting. It's like the same type of process, but you're planting, like tombstones and things into scenes this time of year. Like I said, lots of customers here at this particular cemetery. All right, now I'm switching off to the smallest of tombstones groupings. Like that. Now, I mean, there's this little pathway right here. Just to differentiate the texture a little bit, you can go with a little bit of the tiny rock small here and kind of add this little texture. And again, I could stamp out this, this stamp in its entirety, but I tend to use it more as a texture, and sometimes I just go for a smaller little bit like that on edge as opposed to the whole thing. Okay. All right, now, it would be kind of cool to have something like coming over, like a branch or something like that, but I can't really do that on this because the moon is raised now. So if I stamp something going across it in sky and moon, there's going to be a little bit of a gap. I guess I could do it. There'll be a little bit of a space where something doesn't stamp going into it. Okay, but I can always kind of fill it in with a black pen or something like that. Okay, so let's see. Do we want to add in a little character into our scene? It's like a little zombie. I don't know. Maybe I won't do the zombie. I'm not sure. But let's see. I do have different things like cats. This cat might be a little bit too large here. That space. This is a pretty packed in scene here, so I didn't leave room for a lot in here, so I might not add anything. Oh, let's do this right here just for some variation. Now this is really going to fill it in quite a bit more, so I probably won't go too much beyond. Kind of what's been stamped out here. I'll just stick with that. So these crosses right here kind of provide a little bit of a variety as far as shape goes. So maybe I won't add in any other figures or anything like that. All right, I think that looks pretty decent. Let's see. Let's start adding in some kind of fine-tune lighting into this piece, okay? Now we have this moon of a certain kind of strength of light in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into it. This is a white pastel pencil, so it applies really nicely in here, and I can get a soft addition of white into this piece, okay? I might go for a crisp, sharp addition of light too with the paint pen, but we'll start off with soft and kind of more subtle here, okay? Then I don't know, maybe definitive and sharp, okay? So I've kind of defined her line right there a little bit more. And right in here, we can bring in a little bit of light. Okay, now this isn't applying really right in here because I'm going over the top of the white brilliance ink, okay? So the white brilliance ink doesn't have a lot of tooth to it. Okay, texture. Okay, let's see down here. Bring some of that moonlight right into this kind of her platform area. Like so. And just as we do some illumination with something like this pastel pencil, we can hit it with shadows using, you can use a black pastel pencil too. I've just been using my black colored pencil, okay? So this is the moon. So we have a really large light source, but what I usually do is create shadows coming from the moon. And this moon is just so big, so I usually go for the center in terms of kind of a directional vanishing point, okay? So right here, so my shadows for like these tombstones will go kind of in the direction or away from that vanishing point, okay? If you need to have like a ruler or something like that, you can keep it there just to kind of, keep on track of that direction. So see, the shadows are kind of going in this direction over here, but by the time you go over here, those tombstones are casting their shadows more towards the right. It's like, how long do you make the shadows? Well, if it's kind of higher overhead, the shadows really aren't as long, and the farther you get away from the moon, maybe the shadows get a little bit more elongated. But you can just kind of add in kind of a smaller shadow at first, and you can see how it looks And then if you want to add in more, you can do, so, whatever, accordingly. Like even these little small ones can have a little bit of a shadow, and those are really fun to add into a scene. I'm going to give this a little bit of a slope right here, just to differentiate the top of the hill with that sky in the background. But my little shadows might be just these little nicks like this. Okay, and here's this kind of staircase right in here, and we'll do a little bit of shadow coming out from that. I'm just kind of adding this general tone right in there just to kind of anchor that structure, anchor it kind of visually a little bit more. You'll see my angles right over here getting kind of more, kind of moving more towards like horizontal practically. Yeah, it's not horizontal, but they're kind of moving in that direction. All right, so you can see my shadows being cast in there. And then what you can do is you can kind of add a little bit of a darker tinge right around the base of the objects, okay? So you can transition your shadows a little bit more from darker to lighter as it moves away from the, those objects. So right here, I'll just kind of darken in this a little bit right up here. And then we'll have it transition a little bit lighter right down there. And it's kind of fine-tuning the shadows a little bit, and it's really fun to do. Like that. It kind of changes the spirit of the piece when you add in those shadows like that. Like I said, it's pretty fun to do. It's like everything kind of, it anchors things down and it kind of reiterates the lighting direction. It adds in some different angles and movement into a piece. I kind of work in this kind of direction, but the piece goes more like a horizontal like that. So after I do that initial, I kind of go in and kind of smooth out these shadows a little bit more, kind of with a vertical, or I mean a horizontal touch, like that. Okay, so see this right here, it's a little bit too linear, so you kind of do this and kind of vary it so it's like this, and then I go in, I'm kind of adding these kind of horizontal transitioning marks into the piece. All right. We've added some white in here. We didn't add too much white. The pastel pencil, I might be able to get a little bit more in here, but that white on top of that dark only gets so kind of illuminated like that. So, but this is a acrylic paint pen, so we'll probably be able to get a little bit lighter with that, kind of in a more kind of detailed way. Now, I'm going into my my acrylic paint pens here, and I'm going to illuminate the interior of this. So this right here on Deanna's really cool paper, it's yellow down here, so The moon, in theory, would be the thing that's really casting the most light. But just to kind of reiterate some tone in here, maybe I'll go with a little bit of yellow right here. Maybe it's too... might be too kind of neon-ish yellow. I have different tones of yellow like this one. Maybe this would be better right here. But yeah, I think that looks okay. Yeah, it kind of brings some of that tone into the piece and kind of creates a little bit more of a relationship. And let's add some highlights here and lighter tones, okay? Now I should probably, would be easier if I spray seal this because it's hard to kind of go into a powdery type of application with this right here. It's, yeah, it's just, I'm scraping into kind of like dust here. So let me go and spray fix especially this lower section where I'm going to be adding in some of this. And before I do that, let's break up this hillside a little bit here. I'll kind of add in a little bit more shadow right in here. Kind of extend out the shadow from the that church is kind of casting. And just some of my tombstones I'll kind of add a little bit more shadow across like that. I'm just doing this before I spray seal because the spray fix, I will be able to go in here and add in, you know, some more of the colored pencil over the top of it. But it does start to get sealed off, so, you know, the less sealed something is, the easier it is to apply most media. So I'll get a lot of it kind of applied just ahead of time here. Okay, let's see. All right, I'll pause this and I'll go outside and spray seal this. Just take us a couple of minutes. All right, well, we're spray sealed. I spray with a Krylon spray fixative. And just gave it one quick coat. I didn't really, yeah, there wasn't really a need to really soak it or anything like that. But see how this really just applies very easily now over the top of a sealed pastel as opposed to a, you know, freshly applied and, you know, grainy one, you know, where it's all, you know, very chalky still. So just kind of applying some of this on the edge of her. It kind of sticks out quite a bit, but what I'll do is I'll go back in and I'll blend that in a little bit more with some additional pastel, white pastel. Okay. And the white pastel too, I mean, it was only applying to a certain degree. But then when you seal off a layer, then you can go on, you know, and apply more and build up the layering. So it should get a little bit whiter and lighter. Okay, so she kind of stands out a little bit more in that light. Okay, but when you do something like that, one of the things that it kind of opens up, oh, kind of, I don't know, the opportunity for, I guess you can call it, is going in and adding in those little kind of extra little highlights to the other objects in this scenario. So we have a really strong lighting coming from this moon. So the tombstones to the left of the moon will have, you can put your kind of right side illumination or something like that. Go into like this highlight doesn't stand out very much because it's against a very light background right here, but where it's kind of in the darker area like that, these little highlights can stand out a little bit stronger, like right in there. And this whole scene, I mean, it's not that dark because I'm not making it dark because I want to, kind of showcase more of Deanna's background. So, keeping it, a lot of it kind of just as is, a little bit of texture on the top, but I want to just darken everything out. Then it's like, okay, we've completely lost, kind of that paper, background paper patterning. All right, and gonna add a little bit of a texturing in here as well. When these paint pens dry, the paint that you've applied, it does dry a little bit more see-through, okay? So it's typically, if you're using these over a darker area, which we usually are because that's the only way white will show up, it will dry darker than what it looks like when it's been freshly applied. So you can kind of go back in and build up more paint, and then it starts to become more opaque and thus whiter and whiter, or just whatever color you're working with. It just becomes more opaque. So like I utilize that, so I can get various kind of values of tone on my pieces. Now you see these little highlights are kind of showing up a little bit more, but then I have a kind of a darker highlight, so you can get kind of multiple tones in there. Sometimes you kind of just wish it was really opaque, but the fact that they're kind of a little bit more see-through means that the pigment, the paint in here is a little bit watery, okay? Or waterier than it would be if it was a real opaque application. But they make it that way, I think, so that these paint pens won't clog on us over time. They're not going to dry and clog. So it's like they figure out a kind of a good balance of opacity versus I don't know, whatever fluid, types of applications, and non-clogging. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Some of these rails like this. See this right here? You can go in and kind of bring out those highlights a little bit more. Here's these stairs right here. Kind of on the side, kind of facing that moon in there a little bit, so you're kind of reiterating kind of a lighting direction. Put some little variations in that little window there. Just a little bit of white right in there like that too, maybe. I don't know. All right, I think that is about it. So this makes for a pretty quick and easy scene and a really fun one. I think that looks really dimensional, and see all these other little kind of textures in there from Deanna's cool background papers. This is one that I've had for a while, and I wasn't quite sure what I'd want to do with it, but it was like, okay, let's just stamp something on there. I want to do kind of the scenario that was in my head. Just an easy composition, but I think pretty dramatic with this glow-in-the-dark moon. And I flipped off a couple of the lights. I don't know if I can go dark enough in here. Let me switch off some of my lighting in here and see if we can get some of that glowing moon. My camera's going to compensate, so I don't know if it's going to show that. Yeah, there we go. So that's that greenish glowing moon right there. So that glow-in-the-dark vinyl is really quite aggressive in terms of its light retention. So pretty fun stuff. Anyways, there you go. Have it right there with the Deanna background Tubb-Sedillo and Stampscapes collaboration here. And then we have that little glowing moon in there, so, or a rather large glowing moon, I guess. So pretty fun stuff. Hope you enjoyed the card, and thanks so much for watching this edition of the Stampscapes Test Lab.